Hi and welcome to the channel. One of the things I wanted to do when I started doing these videos is to try and bring some attention to bands that really haven't had the recognition I feel they deserve over the years. So this video is about the British band Rarebird and their 1972 album Epic Forest. Oh, and by the way, if you like the videos, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. Thank you. June 1974. And I'd managed to get a couple of tickets to see Barclay James Harvest at London's Drury Lane Theatre. Barclay James Harvest's new album, Everyone Is Everybody Else, had been out for a while and it was pretty good. And the tickets were priced, believe it or not, at 88 pence, which is less than $2. So for a night out in London to see a good band for less than £1, it was definitely a must. The support band that night was Rarebird. Now, I knew very little about Rarebird, except that back in 1970 they'd had a big hit with the single Sympathy. So I had no idea what they were going to be like, but I paid my 88 pence and was going to get value for money. So at 8:30 on June the 30th, 1974, I was in my seat. The band trooped on. Rarebird consisted of Steve Gould, guitar and vocals, Dave Caffinetti, keyboards and backing vocals, Andy Ray bass and Fred Kelly drums, a few hellos and welcomes, and the band kicked straight off into a tight funky groove. And one thing became very apparent very quickly: these boys could play, really play. Kelly and Ray on bass and drums providing a fantastic rhythm section, and then Steve Gould stepped up to the mic to sing, and I tell you, my jaw must have dropped. What a voice! And even today, Steve Gould is one of my all-time favourite vocalists, and he can really play guitar. Then you had Dave Caffinetti with his banks of keyboard, providing fantastic fills and solos when needed. And this band were cooking, right from the very off, they were cooking. Rarebird threw everything at you. 1 minute rocking out like there was no tomorrow, the next settling into an irresistible funky groove. Then slowing things right down, as they did for a magnificent cover of the Beach Boys' Hard Time. They showed they could pretty much do anything and do it brilliantly. The band played for about an hour, but after 20 minutes most people in the audience were on their feet. To say they blew the roof off the place would not do them justice. As they left the stage, the applause was deafening. They came back for just one encore, and it was a barnstormer. They started off with the theme For a Few Dollars More, the Clint Eastwood movie, and then they hit it. And when every member of the band had given their all, they finally brought the show to a close. And that was it. I felt really sorry for Barclay James Harvest, because no band could follow that. They did their best, but it just wasn't happening. A few months after this tour finished, I found out that Rarebird were playing the Marquee Club in London's Soho. So from August 1974 until early 1975, I saw the band 7 times, and each gig was a classic. For those who don't know, the Marquee is pretty small. It held about, I'm guessing, 150 people. And when Rarebird were in full flight, the condensation ran down the walls, and even in the winter, it was like a furnace in there. These nights were brilliant. Often the same people would turn up week after week, and we all got to know each other, so every night became like one big party. Then one night, we all turned up only to see a sign outside the Marquee saying that Rarebird had cancelled, and another band had been drafted in to take their spot. We all drifted away into the night, and sad to say, I never heard from the band again. But one thing I will say, of all the bands I've seen over the last 50 years, Rarebird was one of the very best. Now I'm going to have a look at what I think is their best album, and stay with me because this one is a corker. Epic Forest by Rarebird from 1972. And on this album we have Ced Curtis, lead guitar and vocals, Steve Gould, lead vocals and rhythm guitar, Dave Caffinetti, keyboards, Paul Karras, bass, and Fred Kelly, drums and percussion. The album kicks off with Baby Listen. Choppy rhythm guitar, Kelly and Karras' rhythm section driving the song along, and Gould and Sid Curtis sharing lead vocals. I saw a man who was in my dreams. He was as old and as wise as can be. Looked in my glass, and purely by chance, happy the man, it was me. All mine, it ain't my dreams. All through the night, he was as wise as can be. He was sure, yeah, but purely by chance, happy the man, it was me. Then throw in some dynamic rhythmic twists and turns, some lovely twin harmony guitar leads. Gould lays down the riff and allows Sid Curtis to break free with a class guitar solo, and the rest of the band just driving along behind him. This was a live favourite and shows just how dynamic and tight the band could be. Track 2, Hey Man, starts off with some atmospheric acoustic guitar and Karras' elegant bass lines, with both Gould and Curtis combining on the lead vocals, before both letting their voices soar on the chorus with some beautiful harmonies that Crosby, Stills and Nash would be proud of. Here I'm standing alone on my island, watching as the world and people pass and things go by. Deep inside is a world calm and silent, but it's never quite the way I dream, although I try. Hey man, what are you made of? Hey man, am I right or am I wrong? Hey man, what are you afraid of? Hey man, what do you think is going on around? Hey man slowly builds in intensity. 3 minutes 20 seconds in, the song changes tempo. Organ, guitar and bass combining on a riff as the song starts to rock out. This was something the band loved to do, especially with the slower numbers or in jams. Either Cafanetti, Gould or Curtis would throw in a riff and the band would start to rock, powerfully returning to the song's melody at the very end. On Hey Man, this is exactly what happens. One last chorus. You can see the coloured fields around you. You can breathe the air and touch the sky. All your fears and make-believe, only things you can conceive. Hey Man is a magnificent track and could, if handled right, been a huge hit single for the band. Things slow down for the third track, House in the City. It's a song about the sadness on leaving a home that has been part of your life. Saying goodbye to a house in the city. It's been part of me for a while. Basement's all clean, I checked it out this morning. It's time to go, the truck's outside. Riding away, my head starts turning, of good times blowing out the bad. Breaking the ties and dreams for old things. Confusion only makes you mad. Steve Gould sings the verses solo, with Sid Curtis joining in on the choruses, and again the harmonies are outstanding. The song has a slow, smoky, bluesy feel, with Cafanetti on electric piano and some restrained bluesy wah-wah guitar. House in the City slowly melts into the title track, Epic Forest. This is 9 minutes 12 seconds of musical brilliance. Lyrically, the song deals with how we are destroying our forests, our countryside, our planet. The track starts off slow, with again some incredible vocal work from Gould and Curtis, set over acoustic guitar, bass and drums. Then at 1 minute 2 seconds, in come those lovely twin guitar harmonies, with Cafanetti filling in behind them with some powerful Hammond organ work. Would you believe that the world is dying, wounded lying underneath your feet, and the woods that my father told me, ages of creation in its leaves. All gone is the time when we stood alone, the mighty Orion was our home, given a chance to put in a fight, evil that came in through the night. Cafanetti then takes the lead with an epic, spaced-out clavinet solo, but listen to the band behind him. Gould and Curtis laying down a magnificent riff, Kelly's superb drumming and Karras providing a great bass line. This is a great band. 4 minutes 13 seconds, we are left with 2 electric guitars, funky bass, drums and electric piano. The guitars weaving around each other, and we are joined in the mix by an acoustic guitar. 5 minutes 38 seconds, Cafanetti again takes the lead on electric piano, but listen to Paul Karras' great bass work just behind him. 6 minutes 51, another change. Acoustic guitar, bass and drums, and those wonderful, wonderful harmonies as the band builds to the climax of this song. Here we'll see the sunset throwing colours on the ground. Bow your head and look around as you keep to your ground. Just one note here. Ced Curtis, Paul Carus and Fred Kelly I've never heard of before or after Rare Bird, but these are magnificent players and are musicians of the highest quality. Track 4, Turning the Lights Out, with a dual guitar riff sounding not unlike early Wishbone Ash, but with a funky edge. It's a bright poppy little number and features some great drumming from Fred Kelly, and it's packed with melody and hooks. Next track, Her Darkest Hour. This is a song, I'm guessing, about depression, about a woman who's been hurt and has retreated into herself. Sung by Steve Gould over acoustic guitar, with the rest of the band providing restrained, gentle backing, Cafinetti on piano and some lovely electric guitar, and Paul Carus, who must have been listening to Jack Cassidy with his heavy, overdriven bass lines. It's another song that demonstrates just how versatile this band can be. Track 6, Fears of the Night. This allows Steve Gould to show just what a great vocalist he is. Set to 2 acoustic guitars and bass, it brings to my mind Arthur Lee and Forever Changes. And as the darkness fills my head and the storm clouds ruin my everyday, we'll take our time for just a moment and together we can find our way. Next up, Turn It All Around, which starts off like early 70s Pink Floyd, very psychedelic, very melodic, with those lovely harmonised vocals again and some echoed synth from Cafinetti. But this band are full of surprises and you never know what's round the corner. And at 1 minute 34 seconds, they hit you with a riff that Tony Iommi of Black Sabbath would be proud of. Turn it all around, turn it upside down, notice things I haven't seen before. Walking through the door of change, trying to believe it, I've opened up and broken through all my chains. For the remainder of the track, the band brilliantly combined the softness of the first 90 seconds with the heaviness of the second part to make for another great song. Next up, and what would have been the last track on the old vinyl album, title number 1 again, Birdman. In concert, this was a crowd favourite, and you knew by the time the band got round to playing this, they'd be really rocking, and everybody in the crowd would be on their feet. This album version is not far off of how the band will play it live. Birdman kicks off with those great harmony guitar lines and yet again Kelly and Carus' rhythm section driving the song along. Straight from my home, late at night, by the back door, searched for a light that might show me the way. Shotgun in hand, I left the 3-time loser, a face that was seen but not going to see. Unchained my hands, now I've got my freedom. At 1 minute 55 seconds, Steve Gould throws in a fast funky riff, but it's just a tease because we go straight back to the song. Then at 3 minutes, here comes that Gould riff again. This time off we go, with a crazy clavinet solo from Cafinetti. 4 minutes 5 seconds, back to those harmony guitar lines, and a short blistering solo from Ced Curtis. But listen to just how tight this band were. All the band playing out of their skins, and this is just how they were live. Everyone on the money. So this would bring us to the close of the old vinyl album. But back in 1972, when the album was released on vinyl, it came with a 3-track EP, and these are included on the CD re-release. And unlike some bonus tracks, these actually add to the original album. So I'm going to call this track 10, and its title is Roadside Welcome. This always brings to my mind the great Ronnie Lane and his work with Slim Chance and the Faces. If you don't know Ronnie, it's well worth checking him out, and I'll be doing a video or 2 on Ronnie's music in the future. Roadside Welcome features Dave Cafinetti on electric piano. It's a slow, beautiful song about hitchhiking around the country and all its pitfalls, with Gould and Curtis alternating lead vocals on the verses and coming together for the chorus. Standing alone in the dark and cold, waiting for movement on the road. It started to rain and I'm soaked right through. I wish I were back home with you. 2 minutes 54 seconds in, here comes that Rare Bird riff and tempo change again, which sets up a wonderful electric piano solo from Dave Cafinetti. Track 11, Four Grey Walls. centres around a powerful guitar riff, but like most of the songs on this album, it's full of changes of rhythm and mood. And it features a crazy, deranged Korg synth solo from Dave Caffinetti. And so sadly, to the final track, the magnificent You're Lost. This kicks off with a single electric guitar and some great funky bass lines. Then, from 1 minute 20 seconds in, the band just jam. And it's a great ride for almost 9 minutes. Kelly and Karras laying down some great rhythms, ably accompanied by Steve Gould on electric rhythm guitar. We get solo after solo from Caffinetti and Curtis, even a backward guitar solo and an acoustic guitar solo. You're Lost shows just what a great bunch of musicians Rare Bird were. They could play anything and everything, and in a perfect world this album would have been a huge success, as it deserved to be. I'm hoping that this review might make a few people listen back to one of the best bands I've ever seen or heard in all my years of listening to music. Fred Kelly went on to play for Rare Bird for 3 more years until they broke up, but Paul Karras and Andy Sid Curtis, I have no idea what happened to them after Rare Bird. Steve Gould went on to form the short-lived band Runner, and then played with Alvin Lee and his band as lead vocalist and bassist. Dave Caffinetti went on to find fame as Spinal Tap's keyboard player Vic Savage, and is still having a good time all the time. Rare Bird, the best 90p I ever spent.